Hello everyone, welcome to another tutorial from Datahut. Do you remember what we did last week? It did not follow any best practices or anything. It's a script that just works and that is purposeful. So in this tutorial, I'll be teaching you what are the best practices, how can we extract data more efficiently. Stay tuned and let's dive right into the code. So let's see the code here. So we have imported our database where you can just store data in a tabular format. So there are other SQL databases as well, like MySQL or Postgres. But SQL3 is very easy to get started, and we'll be using that for the demo purpose. Right. So that's the first thing. So that's what we imported. Then we start with the base URL. So if you remember from our previous video, the page URLs or the individual page URLs we have extracted did not have this part. This part, the Puma India part was not there. So we had to concatenate this part with the extracted data. So that's why we've added this base URL part to concatenate. The start URL is from where we start scraping. So usually when we are doing a large scale project, there'll be multiple categories we'll have to scrape and there'll be start URLs. But here is how it is for this case. And the DB name is the database name that we have used here, the SQLite database name, which is scraping data.db. And the request timeout is that number of, the time we are allocating for the request to try and fetch the data. And if it exceeds 10 seconds, it goes. And then we can retry the same thing 3 times. And we now have user agents. User agents are essentially a bit of strings that says, okay, I am browsing from a Mozilla browser, I'm using a Windows system, etc., etc. So it's basically an identifier. Let's say if you are going to a place, you are saying, okay, my name is Tony, coming from this place, right? It's similar. So this user agent talks to the server instead of a person. That's what it is. SQLite database, and we'll look at how we deal with the SQL database insertion part here. So first we initialize an SQL database, and we are creating a database with the name that we already defined upfront. So I told you we defined the database name, and then we create a cursor object. It's basically like a driver that takes the product from the program to the database. That's what a cursor object is. And then when we execute the cursor object, the data is being returned on the database, right? And we need to commit the connection, and that's basically it. So we can just explore it, and you can just ask ChatGPT how it works internally, and it's very simple. The second function is to save the product, right? So we have the URL, we have the title, and we have the price. So we need to save this data to the to the database, and we need to perform a basic validation. If a title is empty, or if it has white spaces, so it has to update title not found. So we can't use an empty space in the database. So that's what it does. And for price also, it does the same. And we are inserting each of this information into the table. Then so it basically checks if a URL is already processed. So where it is used, let's say you are scraping 1 lakh products from Amazon and you are halfway through, but suddenly the web scraper stopped. What to do? How can you start from the last processed URL? So it's possible only if you keep a reference, and that is where this function comes in handy. So we can just resume the scraping from where we stopped it. That's what this function does. So now we're going to the helper functions. So the first function is to get a random user agent. So had a list of user agents above, and we need to pick something random, right? So we need to rotate it every time. So we use the random library to pick a random user agent, and then we are fetching the URL. So fetching means we are using the request library, but right now we are actually giving it some additional parameters like the headers, right? Which means the user agents will go in with this, and there is a an option to retry if it fails, right? That's how it works. Then we will go to the scraping function. So what a scraping function does is it's the same thing. So it accepts the start URL. It looks for the A tag, like in the previous example, and if it finds the link, the URL, it concatenates with the base URL we've defined above, and it returns the links. So that's the scraping function. Now we go to the parsing function where each page is parsed. Next thing is the main function. So first we are initializing the database, running the first function. Then we are extracting the PDP URLs. Then we are extracting the product URLs from each one. Then we are processing each URL and saving the data. And suppose if we stop the scraper in between, it checks if the data, like which URL was last processed, and then it goes. We also use a time delay, which is between 1 to 3 seconds to a rate limit, which means there is a delay of any time between 1 to 3 seconds between successive requests. And that's it. And once everything is done, we're closing the connection to the database because we've done our writing. And that's it. That's the end of the tutorial. So I'm not giving you the link to this file or the Python notebook. What I want you to do is to improve the function on your or improve the code on your own and submit the collab notebook in the links. We'll give you your feedback and happy coding. If you like the video, please share and subscribe. And if you have any questions, shoot it in the comments and we'll respond to you. Thank you.